Hello, my fellow music lovers. I'm Allison Hagendorf, and welcome to the show. This is where we celebrate the universal love of music and the rock and roll spirit that lives in each of us. Thank you so much for being part of the show. I would love for you to hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube or follow the show if you're listening. I'm so glad you're here. My guest today is the Grammy-nominated musician and producer, Fever 333 frontman Jason Aalon. We talk all about how growing up in a mixed-race household helped him find his unique style of music, how he and his wife, Gin Wigmore, met each other as Warped Tour outcasts, what he hopes to teach his sons, and how he became Bush frontman Gavin Rossdale's #1 fan. And stay tuned after the interview for my sound advice. New music you need to know. It all starts now. First of all, look at both of us in our Fever 333 ensemble. You know I do. I do.
I love
right?
it. I love it.
You love me for that, right?
I really do. The thing about you is, I was saying this over text, is you are one of the most genuine and almost like rare, like it's rare how genuine you are about the things you care about. And I don't know. And you know, in a lot of things that people say or do can feel like they're trying to gas you up, right? Like make you feel good because it's kind of what we do in this industry, but you actually mean it. So when you wear a shirt, I know that you mean it.
Thank you. There's always like that debate, like, is it not cool to wear the band shirt to the show? Right. I mean, I don't subscribe to that. Why would you not celebrate your passion and fervor for someone you love?
Absolutely. I think I saw it on Twitter yesterday. Someone said, hey, the person in the band, he was like, I used to believe that until I saw someone at my band show wearing my shirt. He's like, I've let go of that. I think that people should be wearing the band shirt at the band show.
I mean, doesn't that make you feel good?
It's so awesome.
I asked Tom Morello about that because, like, how he's like, oh, I always do. He's like, I think that's great. And I think that's awesome when people wear Rage or Audio Slave. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, of course.
So let's talk about your outfit here. This is stunning.
Thank you. Yeah, I designed it. I designed it last year or maybe even longer ago. Designed it a while ago, got together with one of my buddies, and then put it all together. So it was like, went from my head to a piece of paper on a bus to my buddy who's this incredible graphic designer. He comes from our world of like graffiti and, you know, from our area, and then moved that over to another one of my friends who's an incredible clothing designer. So there was a few iterations and a process to it, but we're done now and we're super stoked.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you. I'll get you one.
Please do. I really wear it with pride.
I know.
I mean, that is stunning.
Thank you.
I was really thinking back, and Brian and I were talking about on the way here, like the first night I saw you was Labor Day weekend, 2017. And at the time I was living across the street from the Roxy.
Right.
And I had people who I cared about were like, kind of can't miss this show. I'm telling you, Allison, I know you're going to love it. I'm like, I'll just like drop in for a song.
Yeah.
And I pull up the Roxy and you blew my mind. I was like, wait, what? Like I knew Let Live and I knew that you were a veteran, but like that moment, and then like obviously your acrobatics is a whole other thing. And like at one point you were like standing on like the railing and you like fell off, you like slipped and fell off, but you like somehow made it into like a flip, and you had the biggest smile. Yeah, and then you had the biggest smile on your face. And I was like, this guy is an incredible performer.
Thank you.
And I really appreciated that, in addition to the music, the performance art of it, the craft, and the like, it's incredible. And then
Thank you.
As you know, I became obsessed. And I think immediately I came into the studio with you, Feldy, and Travis Barker.
Yep.
I actually have a photo of that. There it is.
Yes, I love
Perfect.
that photo.
This was such a special day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It really was.
That was such a moment. And that's when you and I really got to speak.
Yeah. It was awesome.
And in that moment, I was like, Jason, I need to like learn all about you because I was in love with your music and your performance. But when we were just sitting and chatting, and I was really getting to understand your heart.
Thank you.
That's when everything really was ingrained for me.
Thank you. But that's what I'm saying, right? Again, to the point I made earlier, like you care. You care in a way that is, again, like I said, rare, but also not just in music, but in general. Like, I know this is about music, but I want you as a person. You as a person, I think that sort of energy proliferating throughout the world could make this, as corny as it sounds, like just such a better place. And I think that's why I'm just like today, right? I was like, I woke up with this headache and feeling this, that, and the other. And I was like, I need to be around you. Like you know what I mean? I feel so much, and I'm not just saying this, I actually feel much better.
Oh my God, Jason. So. Well, I just was telling you, I use your music as like injections. I need a dose of you. I need a dose of your music. I mean, you are on every workout list, pump up list. Like, if I just want to get in, like your lyrics, like you are a real poet.
Thank you.
Just so much I want to get to with you, but I almost want to start like, you know, once I got a taste of you and your music, I kind of wouldn't leave. Yeah. And I kind of went on tour with you in the UK. I went to 3 shows with you in like 3 days.
Yeah.
And if you remember, it was at the O2 Academy where I was literally like...
headbanging over the fucking railing. Yeah.
Over the railing.
Totally. Yeah. And before that, like so people know, before that, you were giving me advice on how to take care of my body, my mind, and my spirit in the dress. Like, again, I just think that type of thing, it should be celebrated, you know? And I think for you, being able to do what you do, like, right, you're doing this show in such a way that you can show people what it means to really care about something and then be able to promote it, but also integrate yourself into the things you love and be loved by those things.
Yes.
And I think that we've created this really abstract idea of fan and performer, you know, industry and bands or artists. Like, I think that abstract nature makes it seem as though it's an impossibility to do this, right? To become friends, but also to be able to do business, be able to do art, you know. And I think that's kind of a strange thing that we're experiencing right now in the world with the internet or you know, our phones or whatever it is. So I don't know. I'm so grateful for moments like that. You playing and seeing you just going for over the railing, and also afterwards you being like, this is what you need to do for your body and you need to get some rest. And also I remember when I was hanging off the fucking thing at Sonic Temple, you were like, I think it was called Rock on the Range at the time.
It was the final Rock on the Range. We shared it together. Yes.
And you were like, look, I love it so much, but I love you more. Don't fall off these fucking things, right? That was huge because I got the whole world telling me, do it.
Well, here's the thing. You are incredible. I mean, your acrobatics alone, and I'm not saying that like in jest, like you are an actual athlete, like not just swinging from rafters, like Eddie Vedder style, which I love and I grew up watching him. Like you are actually doing flips into the crowd. Like it's very impressive. And I do get nervous because I love you.
Yeah.
How do you sort of mentally and physically prepare for those moments? And do you think about them in advance?
Yeah, no. I mean, as of recent, we have a person with us on tour that asks me if I think I'm going to go somewhere because he wants to get the shot.
Yeah.
But I just find it really difficult to do that because I think if I think about it too much, I will mess it up.
Right.
You know, I think the preparation, I think the spontaneity offers me a type of adrenaline that is so particularly unique that if I thought about it, the adrenaline wouldn't be the same. Right. Therefore, I might fuck it up. You know,
you get too in your head with that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think of it a lot, you know, like skateboarding. I grew up skateboarding. I grew up playing all sports, but skateboarding like really changed a lot of things for me, the way I see the world. And I think when I was, you know, growing up skating and going, I don't know if this is possible, but today I'm going to try. And then learning about that impossibility with every attempt or every, you know, sometimes it takes days to get a trick.
Right.
You know? And I think that I just carried that on into music. Really.
God, I'm just like thinking of all the things I've witnessed you do and just like how sick it is, but like how nerve-wracking it is. It's like wild.
Yeah.
Now, so you've obviously been doing music forever in multiple iterations. And now with the band, the new lineup, the new iteration with the band, let's talk about that. First of all, Swing, the first new song in a while with the new lineup. It's so sick. And my favorite part is literally right out the gate, the first couple of seconds, and you're like, all right.
Yeah.
Wait, can you please do it for me?
When I just go, all right, that one. Yeah.
It's my favorite.
That's how I feel. I mean, it's
my favorite.
It's quite literally me trying to allow people into the booth with me. Like that was literally, I think I was talking to the engineer.
Yeah.
I was just like, all right, like, and then we just keep it rolling, and then I was like, keep that shit.
You do that in your music, and that I can feel that spontaneity. I can tell that things weren't planned. It's just how you felt, and it came out.
Absolutely.
And please always keep those things
Thank
in.
you. Yeah.
If you think about your favorite artist, like that breath, you hear it, and you're like, please keep that breath in. Keep that in.
Absolutely. That like chick palm mute and creep before the chorus, like, you know, things like that. I used to listen to this band. I just got to give them their flowers. This band called In Reverent Fear. They were, at the time, they were like a Christian metalcore band, but they were incredible. And this man, his name was Jared. He's a friend of mine now, but at the time I was just a fan. He would have these breaths, and he would not only keep them, but he would boost them in the mixes, so you could hear that. And I don't know. It's that sort of tangible feeling. Again, right? We're living in a world that is so processed and so premeditated and, you know, so filtered and polished. It's so polished.
And contrived.
It's so contrived. And look, at the end of the day, like, that, for some people, that's what they do, right? That's what they want to do. They want to achieve this level of pristine, if you will. And that's fine, but it is getting tired.
Yeah.
You know, and we as artists.
I think it's dangerous.
I do too.
Straight up toxic.
I do too. It's a complete fallacy and a misrepresentation of what is possible. Right? Like, we were just talking about the impossibility and working towards it. These things are not possible. And you see it. You see some incredibly influential people in, you know, in the industry or entertainment saying, I kind of wish I didn't do that a few years ago and show people that, or make people believe that this was real.
Right.
When it's not, you know? So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because, you know, social media and stuff like that can be great and be a wonderful way to connect and a wonderful outlet and a way to connect your music with fans and connect with fans. But at the same time, it can be such a dark, toxic place. And as an artist, I feel for you guys because it's sort of a necessary evil because it's such a great way to celebrate your music. Yeah. But how do you personally sort of balance it all?
That's a great question, Allie. I'm honestly in this strange moment of limbo with all of that because I am trying to figure out where I exist on these platforms.
Yeah.
And how do I present myself in a way that isn't, you know, degenerative to the message and to whatever amount of authenticity I can offer when it seems like this abounding sense of disingenuous activity. So I really try, like I sincerely try to be as vulnerable as I can, while understanding that this is algorithmic, right? I understand that if I'm going to reach however many people, I do kind of need to understand how it's working, right? I need to understand like when or what the post looks like or what it reads like or whatever. But in doing so, I think, and for artists in general, I sincerely believe that if you are unique and endemic to yourself, right? If you have something that is unique to offer, I think that that's going to be the most important thing that people care about at the end of the day. And sometimes it takes forever. You know, sometimes it takes years for people to actually hear you because there's so much noise.
Yes.
But if there's one thing I could say to artists or just people in general is, you are special. If you believe you're special and you can create something that is unique and different, then just keep moving with that. I had a moment in this game, like a really, really brief moment where I was like, oh, do I do this thing that I swore I would never do? Yeah. And I thought about it. And that was the moment where I, you know, I actually had to sort of extract myself from everything. And there was a moment where I went pretty quiet on like socials and just everything. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
It's too much. So
that's why I love artists like I'm taking a break, you know, and I get that. I respect that.
Yeah.
We all need to.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. I don't think we're built for this. I know. I think it's a real big experiment that we're all in the middle of right now. And we're seeing the over under, you know, we're like, well, this, I mean, yeah, sure. You might get this endorsement, but you give up. It's a tale as old as time though.
Yes.
You know, how many artists have been like, yes, I'm literally the biggest artist in the world right now, and I'm so depressed.
Yes, of course.
You know?
Of course.
It's just another iteration of that, I believe.
At the end of the day, it's about human connection.
Absolutely.
Tangible.
Absolutely.
In-person
Absolutely.
connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, you gotta, and I think it's interesting too for us as artists, because typically from what I've from what I understand and have garnered and observed is that we're all like, we get into this because it's a pretty frenetic and volatile lifestyle. So for you to willingly go and participate,
to choose this path.
To choose that, there's something. It's not, not everything is aligned the way that maybe it should be if you want to have a calm life, right?
Right.
And I had to realize that about myself early on, and not only my behavior on stage, but my behavior off stage, and how I would be in my romantic relationships or my family relationships, and trying to understand that what I believe to be a superpower on stage might have been detrimental to me outside of it.
Yeah.
And I think that we all need to understand that there's more to this than just the one facet that we're focused on.
Right.
Whether that be the internet or our podcast or us as parents or us as performers. It's multifaceted.
And that's something artists struggle with, is like you get that high and that adrenaline on stage 100%. And then you don't know how to function without that feeling.
100%.
Right?
And it's so fabricated to me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being on Warped Tour in my old band in Let Live and seeing, they're homies, but just seeing them almost like they were deified and then accepting the deification, right? Like almost like standing upon this proverbial soapbox. And then I always found it so funny that you'd be in Warped Tour and you couldn't get from, the fucking Vans tent to your homie stage in the crowd. But then you go to Burger King right around the corner and no one gives a fuck about you.
Right,
do you know what I'm saying? Like no one cares. And so I think that we create these ideas of ourselves based on the environment we're in.
Right.
And I think if you believe your own hype for too long, then you might go a little crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, when you keep yourself grounded and you're like, we're just human beings.
Yeah.
And really, fundamentally, we all just want the same things.
Totally.
We really do,
right?
At the core of it.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important, as long as we kind of check ourselves daily and surround ourselves with other people who share our values and our priorities, then you can kind of stay.
Absolutely.
And I think that's when you find happiness.
100%. I'm on that journey right now, again, is having like 2 kids and a career and a partner and trying to somewhat understand myself in society, like as a normalish person. I go to my kids' school and I talk to these parents and, and just trying to understand myself in that position as well. And I found it interesting, and Jen, my wife, was saying that she's like, why don't you just tell people what you do?
Right.
I always skirt around the thing. I never say I'm a musician. I'm always like, what are you doing? I just had to go for work. What's work? Oh, I do music. I don't say I'm a musician or I'm in a band.
That's interesting.
I never do it. And I think it's because I'm so afraid. And again, this is an insecurity, whereas before I thought it was healthy, but I think it's actually not. I think that I'm so afraid of being perceived as someone that I am not, an arrogant musician, a person that believes they're a rock star.
I see.
I'm so afraid of that because I think that there's an uncertainty in myself that I just won't even talk about it.
Okay. Got it.
It's not
it's
even
like an overcompensation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not being humble. It's just being afraid. Like I'm afraid.
You actually posted something recently that resonated with me. It was this beautiful carousel photos of you. And by the way, whoever takes these photos are gorgeous.
You.
Is this
my
Gin?
boy, it's my boy DJ.
Oh, DJ.
Yeah, we do a lot
DJ's crushing
together.
it.
Yeah, he's
because
amazing.
It was beautiful photos of you.
Thank you.
And it was about facing a fear.
Yeah.
And I loved that you posted about that.
Yeah.
What was that fear you were referring to in that moment? Or was it more of like an abstract feeling of fear?
I mean, honestly, I was looking, if I'm being super honest, I was looking at the photos, and the last photo, one of my best friends who supported me in the beginning of my career, and I love her to death, so she can say this. She said, she said, yeah, I remember you as, you were like the local heartthrob or the rock star, but that last photo of you looks like a taxi driver who's had too much time on his hands, ate too much pizza, and was tired from too many rides. Like, she hit me with such a specific thing that was
so
like
aggressive.
Yeah. It's so like unattractive, and I actually, that's why I post. And I said this, so I could actually show you the text. I said, what's so funny about that is that's why I posted it, I was looking through these photos and I was like, yeah, I could put this one and I could post. And we didn't edit, and we put like a filter to actually enhance, some like wrinkles by my eyes or like some grays in my beard. Because I want to start showing people that like there's a beauty,
Right.
there's a beauty in what we become.
Of course.
And because it's inevitable.
Yes.
If our baseline is thinking about what we were, then the fear of the future it will destroy us. And I think so. I was looking at these photos and I was like, okay, this one looks pretty cool. And admittedly, I was like, oh, I think I look pretty cool in this one. But this one also should be in there because I don't look as dapper, or I don't look as like, fit in that one. And even if it was just the angle, I wanted to put that photo there. And because of that, it started to make me think about fear.
Yes.
And who I present as publicly. So that's why I did it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did. I personally liked all of the photos of
Thank you.
But like, I'm with that because I think being able to age is a gift that you get to evolve.
Absolutely.
And as a woman in entertainment, I don't wish that I were 20.
Right.
I don't at all.
Yeah,
I really don't.
That's
at
amazing.
all.
That's amazing.
And I think especially for men, they almost have like, okay, it's okay for men to like Silver Fox.
Yeah,
and like, Brad Pitt's so gorgeous, and he is. And George Clooney.
Yeah.
But for women, we don't get the same, like, oh, like she looks older or whatever. But I don't really struggle with that. I'm sort of happy with where I am.
Yeah.
I'm not sort of. I am happy. I am happy with where I am. I plan on aging as gracefully and being healthy mentally, emotionally, and physically, and just doing my best. I don't wish I were 20, and I wish that everyone sort of felt that way.
But you know what I think, and I think it's really good that we touch on this right now.
Yeah,
because you make an active and conscious effort to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? In a way that is healthy, a healthy way of taking it. And you're gorgeous. Obviously, your husband is well aware of this, and you're gorgeous and you're strong and you're mentally fit and you're physically fit and all these things. But it's because you try. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that I've been facing recently is like being mixed, right? So I've got certain qualities that you hear, like, oh, black don't crack, blah, blah, blah. And people saying it to me, because like I'm 38 now, and people being like, wow, you look, and so I'll catch myself sometimes being like, am I? And I'll look in the mirror and I'll be like, am I aging like that? And I'll be like, oh man, no, they just see it like the light so I think that I actually just reached out to a trainer again, because I was like, I need to get my body and mind and spirit aligned.
Yes.
And I thought about you. I thought about how you look at fitness as something, beneficial for your soul.
Yes.
Is the way I
it's
see
meditative.
It. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And although you can be seen physically as stunning, you are really giving this energy. Like when I see these photos of you doing things and your body is like flexed and all this good, but I actually get like, I just got chills thinking, it's the energy that I'm taking from it. And I think that the sort of physical perception that we take on fitness can be a little, it can be hazardous.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I have the healthiest relationship with fitness and eating that I've ever had in my entire life.
Wow.
And I've done it all.
Wow.
And I have been the most intense, extreme person. And I have to tell you that I think becoming a mother has been a massive part of that. Because it changes priorities, and it's been a gift for me to sort of, it takes the pressure off yourself. And that's been a beautiful gift.
Right.
But also, and I'm sure you can relate to this, you get confused about like, what's your identity.
Totally.
And your identity is constantly evolving and growing and wavering. But like my whole life, I was like fit. I was like out and about. I was like electric. And and then, well, one, as you age, and two, as you have children, I'm like, okay, well, then I had babies. So like I wasn't like fit according to myself and what I was used to doing a CrossFit class 5 days a week. Like gone are those days. And by the way, I don't like wish I were doing that. I'm happy with where I am now. But like, then your mind gets a little bit like, wait, who am I? Right? Who am I? Like you, like being with like the parents at your kid's school, like who am I? How do I explain to myself
absolutely
and to strangers like who I am? It's almost like overwhelming.
Yes. And as a parent and an artist or a person in the industry or entertainment, the thing that I keep being reminded of is that my kids don't give a fuck about who I am on stage. Right. They don't. They will see me and think that was sick, and that's it. Like, that's it. We go back to, well, Dad, now I want a squeezy, or I want to go skate, or whatever it is. And I think that as much as it can be confusing, it can be really grounding too.
Yes.
Because all they want is you.
Right.
Because the apparition on stage, or this presenter in your pocket, like, that's a personality.
Yeah.
And there are absolutely 1,000,000% things that I would never say as a performer that I say to my wife, that I say to my best friends. Like, that's just the reality, right? I'm not going to sit here and claim that every single thing that I do in my real life, or, you know, my life off stage, I will do on stage. Right. That's just not reality.
Right,
and I think it's unhealthy too. I think that you do need to have some sort of boundary, because a lot of it's a show. I mean, a lot of it is a show.
It's a show.
It's a show.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine me doing what I do on stage, on the street. I would be institutionalized. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You would be arrested.
Isn't that crazy?
And yes, admitted.
Isn't that so crazy?
Yeah.
Like, I can do all these, and everyone's like, wow, that's amazing. But if I were to do that literally just outside of festival grounds, they'd be like, call 911.
Right.
This man needs help.
No, it's an experience you're creating. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, you know, we experience relative to where we are, when we are, who we are.
Yeah.
And in that moment, that's who I am. I'm this performer, and I want to, if I can, offer some sort of vessel-like embodiment of these feelings. And again, like I said, pushing. And I know you understand me on this. I believe, like, when I was playing sports, or when I was, you know, working out, it was the extra rep.
Yeah.
It was the extra mile.
Yes.
You know, and everyone, I remember people, my coaches being like, whoa, physically it's, no, honestly, it's about my mind.
Yes.
It's so that my mind can expand, can go a little bit further, so that I can deal with whatever I'm about to go home to,
right,
whatever I had, you know, my breakup before, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so I think it's sort of dressing these things up as more of a mental and spiritual thing,
mm-hmm,
versus the physicality of it. I think we'll have healthier relationships with them.
Absolutely.
You know?
And your wife, Gin Wigmore, you know, I have met and spent time with prior to even knowing you. Yeah. And I love Gin. She's an incredible artist. I interviewed her back like in 2008 or 9.
That's amazing.
She was such a badass
she
rock
is.
star. So I was not surprised when I learned the two of you were together.
Yeah.
I'm sure that your relationship, having such a solid partner, is everything.
Oh my gosh. It, honestly, when I met Gin, 2013, on Warped Tour, actually.
So I met her before you met her.
Yes. Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
Tell me how you guys met. I love this.
Oh, well, so we were, my old band Let Live was playing Warped Tour, and we were kind of like somewhat like black sheep, just because, again, the way we perform, the music we play, of course, was within the scene, but it was just different-ish. So we kind of had our own little thing going on, and Gin was complete fish out of water. Like,
right.
Her management at the time tried to do the Katy Perry thing that they did with Katy Perry with Gin. Put her on Warped Tour.
Yes.
She'll find herself a little Travie McCoy from Gym Class Heroes, whatever. And actually, it happened.
You're her Travie McCoy.
Yes, absolutely, right? Just a foot shorter. But yeah, so they did that. They put her out on that tour, and I know this is going to sound way like cinematic or, you know, super hyperbolic, but this is true. I was with my best friend. I had just broken up with my then girlfriend. And here we go. See, being super vulnerable. I was talking to her and I said, you know, I don't think we should be together anymore. She's talking. I was like, look, I just don't think we should be together. And you know, when you're having a relationship ending, there's all these feelings coming up. Yes. And she's like, how do we work it out? And I was like, look, we're not in love. So I had to say things that were quite, like at the time, quite hurtful. Mm-hmm. And I remember I remember certain things coming out of my mouth only because I wanted to be honest, being like, I'm not in love. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's not the appropriate place to be in a relationship, especially after the time we'd been together.
Yes.
So it's never going to happen. But when that happened, when that left my mouth, I remember thinking, oh, this isn't for me. Like, I'm not supposed to be married. I don't even know about like long-term commitment, but I really wanted to be a father. like since I was like in middle school, I was like, I want to be a dad. So my best friend, I love him. I was like, yo, could we like trick an adoption agency into believing that we're together and that we could like adopt a kid? He's like, yeah, we could do that. So this is that's the path I'm on.
Wait, I cannot believe this plan. Okay,
I swear to you. Like,
this is unbelievable.
That's the path I'm on. I'm like, I'm going to raise a kid with my best friend. Even if he gets a wife I'm still going to, like, that's what we're going to do. So I was like really setting my life up to be like, that's cool. I don't need to get married. I'm going to adopt this kid, whatever. I'm going to trick the adoption agency. It's going to be great. And then I was walking with my best friend. He had just moved to San Diego. It was the Chula Vista date of Warped Tour. We were talking to two young women, and I was kind of playing wingman. You know, I was kind of like scarred from the relationship, playing wingman, and I heard this. I know this is going to sound so corny. I heard this voice.
Like but Gin has that voice, though.
Right?
I get it.
Right?
She has that voice.
I heard it from like however far away. You know how kind of
it carries.
Yes,
it projects.
Yes. And I was like,
I would know nothing about that. No.
And so I was like, what is that? And I looked at my best friend. His name's Andrew. I was like, Drew, I got to go see who this is. And, you know, he's such an incredible friend. He was like, okay, sorry, see ya. And so we left. And I walked to this stage and I see Gin. And I was like, oh, okay, well, outwardly beautiful,
yes.
Cool. Then she was talking on stage. I was like, oh, she's quite funny, quippy, you know, kind of talking shit. Like, I like that. So afterwards, I think it was the next day, we were in like Vegas or something, or 2 days later. And I didn't talk to her. I'm sitting down playing guitar. I was much more fit at the time, had my shirt off. It was hot. It was Vegas. She walks by. I was like, oh, perfect. I'm like slightly sweating, so I'm glistening.
You're glowing.
Yeah, I'm just glowing. I was like,
yeah.
Let me put the door down real quick. I walk up to her, and I say, hey, loved your show. It was amazing. You know, I just thought, I was going to like spark a conversation. And she literally goes, thanks, mate, and walks away. Like just walked away. Oh I couldn't look again. I know earlier I was talking about, I was afraid of seeming arrogant, but look, I was in my prime. I was
and
like,
she's like, peace, bro.
She was like, anyway, like, wow. So that was actually quite it was super humbling. And then we didn't talk. And then her band were fans of my band, and we ended up having a lunch together one day at the, in the mess hall or whatever.
Yeah.
And we were telling crazy stories, and I had this crazy story about one of my homies who lost their fiance to a crocodile. I know it's something I'm making this shit up. A crocodile.
All right,
I didn't then say.
That's horrifying.
No, it's horrifying. It's a long story, but that literally happened. My homie. If any of my homies were here, they would corroborate.
Oh my God.
It happened.
Okay.
It fucking happened. They went back and told the story to Gin, but I guess it was like the guy who over here thought it was my story.
Right.
So she's
it was like the game of telephone.
Yes. So she's like, oh, this broken man, I need to go talk to him. So we started talking, and that was it. We became friends, and it wasn't until into our relationship she asked me about it. She's like, so I just what about the crocodile in your face? I was like, oh, that wasn't me. That was my homeboy. She's like, that's the only reason I came to talk to you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The crocodile tears.
I mean,
my
really,
God.
yeah. So that's how we met.
That is an unbelievable story. That's like
It's
a cosmic kind of story.
Oh, totally.
That's
totally.
In the stars.
Once we started kicking it, I mean, we were dancing in horse stalls outside of the Warped Tour that we found to Erykah Badu.
Okay.
We were,
yes,
you know what I'm saying?
That was it.
It was meant to be. And I was so, and again, to the point where I was like, I literally said, I'm never getting married.
Yeah.
I was married a year later.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
It's all about the person and timing.
Right.
It's those two things. It's the right person at the right time.
Totally.
That's it.
Totally. And that sometimes may never happen, which is crazy, right?
Right.
So you gotta.
Because it could be the right person at the wrong time.
Absolutely.
Yes. Talk to me about this new chapter of music.
Yeah.
It's we were talking about swing. Which,
yeah.
One more time. All right. Can't get enough of it. So the new lineup, the new band, this new era. Just tell me more about it.
Honestly, it's like the it's the era of funk in punk rock. I feel like with this group, we got Thomas Pridgeon, who has been one of my favorite drummers since I was like 19.
Wow.
Yeah. He was somebody that I heralded as one of the best just drummers. Like forget rock or funk or gospel or just the best drummer.
Transcends genre. Just a great drummer.
Incredible, you know? So he's played in some of my favorite groups, right? Like Mars Volta.
Love Mars Volta.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
Like to trash. And his performance on that Bedlam album is crazy.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. So
it is.
Having him with his background, obviously coming from the church and then going through Mars Volta, even playing with Trash Talk, his understanding of the funk and punk is perfect.
Yeah.
And that's what you need, right? Like it rhythmically, right? You like if you're on drums.
Yeah.
If you want it to feel funky, if you want to groove, it's like it's so incumbent upon drums and bass.
Yes.
Which brings me to April K.
Yeah.
Who is just a queen. You know, just so incredible. Her power on stage is something I've never felt. And her presence is something I've never felt. And obviously her talent goes without saying. She's incredibly talented as a bass player. But her mind and her heart and her spirit, when we're on that stage, I've never actually kind of felt like it's ever been a competition, but she would be my competitor.
That's amazing.
She is so incredible. And what it is her nature is just so it's like a unicorn.
Yeah.
Right? And so having that, and I just love her and like love having her around. And then I don't know, I just feel super blessed. And with Brandon, I've known Brandon, new guitarist, for over a decade now. And we just kind of linked because we were, people of color in this space touring. We would cross paths and we were in bands. And it'd always be like, yeah, I get it. And then we became friends. And we always kind of talked about like, oh, maybe one day or maybe this might happen. And then when it was time for me to put this new outfit together, he was like one of the first people I thought of. It was kind of like a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. And he's extremely talented, extremely like down. Like that's the thing is the energy, and I can't wait for you to come hang with us. The energy is just like everyone is just so happy to be there. Mm-hmm. And then when we get on stage, everyone turns into like this monster performer of themselves. And then we get back off stage and we're just kicking it.
So special.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That is such a gift. I cannot wait to see this new iteration.
Yeah, it's tight.
And you're working on new music?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I got like, I don't know, like over 100 songs.
Wow.
Yeah, it's silly.
Wow.
It's like ridiculous.
Talk to me about your process.
Yeah.
Are you constantly writing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, like today I'll go and write.
Okay.
I just again, it's meditative, right?
Yes, it is.
It's the thing that makes me feel if I'm having a hard time or a day or I can't get myself together, if I write, it kind of just fills that space. Mm-hmm. So I started in bands, right? So we would all jam together and that was what we did. And sometimes we would take like months on a song, and we'd be doing other things at the time, but we'd always return to like this one or whatever. And then as I got a little older, I started to, I always wanted to be a multi-instrumentalist. I just didn't have the money to get like a bass, a drums, blah, blah, all this stuff. So I play all my friends' stuff. One of my earlier best friends who I spoke with this morning, I would play his drums. And I had a guitar and then the bass of my bass player and the keys because my dad had them. So I grew up wanting to be a multi-instrumentalist. So I started to try and then realized I don't have the time for this. And so I'm able to demo everything myself if I need to. So that's kind of what I was doing earlier, like the middle of my writing career or whatever. And then I met John Feldman. Seriously.
Yeah.
I met John Feldman and it changed everything. It changed the way that I look at quality. It changed the way that I look at the expedient nature or how you don't have to necessarily be so precious in the moment. Just be honest in the moment versus so heady, right? Like thinking like, oh, it's just, so John changed the way that I look at writing. And that was, oh my gosh, I think I was like 24 or 23. So over 14 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So and so my process is this. I just think anything, literally anything. Like you said something earlier and it started making my brain tick. And I'll take that today and I'll go, what does this mean? Is there a metaphor here? Does it inspire this? And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I'll take anything, a sound, a word, a movie, and just try to see what type of inspiration I can draw from that so that it becomes unique. Because I think if I do the same thing every time, it's just going to get fucking boring.
Right.
You know? But yeah,
just inspiration wherever you can get it.
Wherever. Like, and I know that it's annoying to a lot of people close to me because I'll be on my phone, like talking into my phone as we're at a movie or, you know, whatever. But it's just, and it's definitely ADHD.
That too.
You know, it's definitely ADHD.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so the process is, just go for it. Do whatever at this point now. And I'm so lucky to have so many talented people, engineers, guitar players, drummers, that all over the world now, because of, you know, you can do it remotely, that want to work that way. So that's just what I do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier your dad's keyboard.
Yes.
I wanna learn more about your upbringing.
Yeah.
And being from a mixed racial family, and just tell me all about your music, like your earliest musical memories and how music became like an outlet for you.
Yeah. My first musical memories are my father covering Sade and playing his own music. Like in the garage, smoke-plumed garage, weed smoke from him and his homies. Like that's literally the first memories I have of music. And I remember thinking that it felt, not that it did look cool, like his friends and him just looked cool playing music, but it felt so cool. It felt like we were, I was a child, obviously, but my earliest experience of transcending was with music. Right. Was like, because, you know, we were off the back of my father getting played super, hard by his managers and the label. He was with Arista at the time, and his managers played him. Like I don't remember this, but my mom told me recently, you know, we were homeless for a moment, and we was living in like motels and cars because of what had happened to my father, who was touted as like the next Prince. Apparently people were like, you know, put out this album Cream City in the late 70s, and everyone's like, this is amazing. He's playing with Marvin Gaye. He was in Little Richard's band. He was in War.
Crazy.
He was in Eric Burdon and the Animals. He did the Stop album. Like, so he was doing it, but he was just a brother from the Midwest, Milwaukee, that came over here and didn't really have any idea of how it worked. And being black in the industry at that time, it was much, just frequent exploitation, right? And being taken advantage of. So that's what happened. And he tells a story that he was walking onto a private jet or whatever, private plane at the time. And his manager, one of his managers, he had two, came up and was like, oh, we just need you to sign this real quick. And he's like, what is it? And he tells him, and he signs it. And it was like everything.
I can't.
You know what I'm saying? His music's like on the Boondocks, and it's been Kendrick Lamar's, like one of his primary producers, like samples this shit. Like it's everywhere, but he sees nothing. He sees nothing. So that's my first idea of music. And my parents were like, nope, like you're not doing this as a career.
Right. You're
going to go and be academic, you're going to go and do sports, and you're going to get out of here, but you're not doing music. So it was like, I was just like really, really focused on trying to find how I could sneak into his garage and play his keys, or how I could learn the guitar. And eventually they got me a guitar from the pawn shop when I was like 11. And that was it. I just started writing songs. And my whole idea of it was that this industry was fucked, like sincerely. That's just what I thought. I was like, well, they just want to play you. So that's why punk rock and backpack rap and underground hip hop were so appealing to me, because it felt like they lived outside of that.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't, you weren't looking for a record deal or nothing like that. You were always just creating your own space, your own records, your own scenes, your own venues. And that was so amazing to me. Also, it was like inextricable from skateboarding too, right? It was all the videos, all that. So, you know, that was really how I started, and it just never stopped, you know. And as me and my father may have become like a little more estranged at the time, you know, during my like high school years, I just went fully into music, almost like an act of rebellion.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what art most oftentimes is. But that's what I did, and that's what I And I've never looked at it differently. Like I've just never seen it differently. It's always just like this obviously act of rebellion and a presentation of your soul and spirit and trying to find a space where we can all coexist and feel something different just for even for an hour. But that's kind of how it all came to be.
Also, when you're figuring out who you are and your identity, music can be the perfect compass.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Allie, oh my gosh, yes. Yes, because I was so confused. I grew up in a black neighborhood. I was light skinned. My hair was different back then. It was like bigger, like it was like more afro-y. And so that was like that's all I knew was like black culture, R&B, soul, funk, hip hop, like all that. That's all I knew. And then I was the only, like literally the only kid with a skateboard in my hood, like, or even surrounding hoods. I was the only kid. And because of that, you know, it's obscure, it's odd, and people want to say and do things towards you. And so I had to learn how much do I love this, right? How much do I love this alternative shit? Because if I have to quite literally fight my way through it, then I better love this shit.
Right.
And so that's what I did. And then, you know, my dad being in the music he was in and the culture he's from, and then my mom is Scottish, like she's white. She's white, like, you know what I'm saying, like real white. And so I got like ABBA and Meatloaf, and you know, and like and Rod Stewart and Tom Jones, and so that was, and I loved it all.
Right,
I loved it all. I loved all of it. So when I started doing music, I really wanted to find this amalgam of all those things, you know, and I found my space, although, you know, a very crude representation of it. I found my space in like punk rock and soul together. That was like my thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So what role did Gavin Rossdale and Bush play in your life?
Literally, he's the reason I wanted to play guitar.
Wow.
Seriously, I heard Glycerine. And because my Scottish uncle he flew in to LA, he was staying with us. He gave me a Radiohead album, OK Computer, which was like too heady for me at the time. I'm like, what the hell?
Right.
And then he gave me 16 Stone.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like I was obsessed, trying to write songs like Come Down and, you know, Machine Head
and plus Gavin's persona on stage, his presence. I mean, come on, yeah.
He's like ethereal. He's like a male fairy. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like to this day, like even his physique, his like
he's
look,
gorgeous,
his voice, his but he believes in his art, that he is an artist.
Yes, he is.
You know, I started to talk to him, like really thanks to like you and my previous manager, Peter Katzis. So we got to like start talking, and I couldn't. Oh my God, you should see the amount of times I like screenshotted like his name on my phone, texting me to my friends. I'm like, can you believe this?
I remember when he was a guest on this show, you and I talked after. You're like, you don't understand, I'm the biggest fan.
No, seriously, he is. When people ask me what my favorite band is, it's Bush.
I should have worn my Bush shirt on top of it.
Yeah. It seriously, and for people. I think people need to understand how incredibly unique that album is.
Yes.
If you really think about it, right? The sort of like abstract nature of the lyrics and the way he was able to make you sing those words. Even though I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about sometimes, I'd be like,
Right.
I wanted to know because I could feel how he felt.
Yes.
And also like kind of like the post-grunge era, the catchy, the hookiness of it, but still being like gritty.
Also being from the UK.
I know.
He really had a sort of like, he was told countless times like his voice wasn't the right voice, or like, you know, it's just that he was doing the wrong thing. It didn't fit in, you know?
Yeah.
May all those things propel us and keep and drive us.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. There's that moment of him playing Glycerine in the rain at the MTV Spring Break episode, and it's like literally one of the most amazing moments.
It's epic. It's actually
so
epic.
Good. So good.
You are Grammy nominated.
That's crazy.
You
huh?
are Grammy nominated.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I have a moment, a picture of us.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yes.
Feldy was on the show, and we actually talked about how special this moment was with you and Bring Me the Horizon.
I love
and
that.
This was a special moment because we were really celebrating rock as
Yes.
a genre and as a culture and songwriting and a community,
Totally.
which is the most important thing to me.
Totally.
What does that mean to you being Grammy nominated? Is that something you care about? Is it something that you think about? Or what drives you?
No, I don't think about it. When we were there, I wanted to make sure that I just utilized the platform to just get the message out.
Mhm.
And especially at the time, I mean, there were like people straight like cutting me off because I was like, I think that Black people have been exploited, especially particularly here at the Recording Academy.
Right.
So I was just using the platform as best I could and as gracefully as I could without, you can't like attack a paradigm inside the paradigm, right? Like if you're inside the vessel and you're like, this is wrong, people are going to look at you like crazy or they're going to treat you like crazy. So I was trying to have like finesse when I was there and be like, this is what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And since we're here, my larger mission and my beliefs and ideals when it comes to social and sociological elements in society, like you just have to listen to one song, you'll get it. But I wanted to talk particularly about the Recording Academy and, Black, Brown, POC artists, our involvement in not only the culture, but elevating and evolving it for so long. And then the rock category, right? Specifically, Black people being so instrumental in rock and roll to begin with. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
I mean, speaking of Little Richard, right? It's like,
oh my God.
It's like, I just wanted to say that. I felt like I feel like in life, you're going to get all these opportunities to say things, but like you said, like love, it may not be the right place or time. So I chose to speak on that while I was there as best I could and try to get people to hear it.
You do an incredible job, though, I will say. You have very high social and emotional intelligence. Because the keys of communication is not just saying what you have to say.
Right.
It's saying it so it'll be received.
Absolutely.
And I feel like you are very good at that and very adept. And that's a skill.
Thank you.
Because communication is two ways.
Absolutely.
It's not people just speaking out.
Absolutely.
It has to land.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was a great opportunity for you to share what your mission is and what your message is. And you did it very gracefully, like you said, and tactfully. And I applaud you for that.
Thank you, Allie.
Because that's what it's all about. It's communicating in a way that can be received.
I mean, imagine that, right? Imagine if we could.
Everyone did that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we could just sit and talk. Imagine that. Like and I've got
a two-way conversation.
Right. And just have it hit back at you, right? Like volley. I don't know. I find it really interesting. I've got really, really radical leftist friends, and there's so many. Obviously, I subscribe to so much of that. But at the same time, I still want to talk to people that don't.
Right. Yes.
I still want to know what they think and feel, because it would be so profoundly arrogant to believe that everything I think is right.
Right.
Like, that's crazy to think like that.
Well, it's all about perspective and experience.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you think, I found that when we travel, I behave in ways, I have to adjust the way I behave when I'm in different cultures. So imagine, America being one of the largest countries in the fucking world with all these different people, living on top of each other and smashing into each other and coming from here and immigrating from here to create this country. Imagine thinking that the way I think in Los Angeles, California, is the way someone thinks in Casper, Wyoming. Mm-hmm. And then to come and tell them, but you should. Right. You should think exactly like that. No, it's about perspective. It's relative. And while I do think there are some overarching themes that can universally benefit all of us, if you were to break them down and unpack them, I sincerely believe that talking is like, I don't know, it's just something we don't do, and it might help.
I think it's just having a foundation of respect
Totally.
And then once you kind of, okay, we're two people willing to listen.
Absolutely.
That's what it is about too. It's about being willing to listen.
Absolutely.
So if you're just coming with your own agenda, that's not going to work.
Absolutely. I got in an argument on stage on that Korn tour with this guy. He was just upset with what I was saying, and he was yelling at me. It was in Colorado, and I was like, "What's wrong?" I just stopped everything. I'm like, "What's wrong?" And I let him speak, and I was like, "Well, here's what I think, and here's my answer to that." And we like went back and forth, and I was like, "I gotta get to this song, unfortunately, but let's continue this." And sure enough, he reached out to me.
That's amazing.
He reached out to me, and he did apologize. He had obviously he said he had been drinking, so he was heightened in his emotions. But we talked for months. He sent me letters, handwritten letters, explained his story. He was a vet, and he'd been talking to me about his experience.
Ugh.
And it was just so fascinating because we were talking in the beginning. I was like, I wasn't necessarily there to be shifted from my perspective necessarily, but I wanted to hear his, right?
Yes.
And I went in and told him what I thought. And at first I thought he was going to combat me with like something antithetical or being like, well, I actually was in the trenches. This is what he said to me. But eventually, as I listened to him and we had more conversation, he was like, actually, I'm quite traumatized from what I experienced in the name of this country and the way I was treated. And then we found a common ground. I was like, but that's what I'm saying. Right. I know that I'm speaking from, from the element of POC and Black culture, because that's where I'm from. Right. That's what I know. I know that, but I know that these things, these injustices affect all of us. Because at the end of the day, in this country, in this system, in the way that most of capitalism works, it's about the dollar. It's about money. So you can be poor, Black, poor Mexican, poor white, poor Asian, and so that's where we found ourselves, was feeling disaffected and cast aside. Right. And it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's sort of like a microcosm of what ideally can happen.
Right.
It's just two people both sharing their perspectives,
absolutely,
listening and finding the common ground.
Absolutely. I mean, look, if you can have these like literal neo-Nazis come back around and be like, actually, I was just a sad, like lost person and I found community here. And sit and talk to someone like that who for me is like quite literally the diametric opposition to what I believe in, and have that conversation and then be like, no, actually I was wrong. Why can't I be like, yo, the way I approached this change might have been not as graceful as it, could have been. Like, why can't I do that? So I don't think it should always be one-sided, I guess is what I'm saying, Right. And I think that what's hard in my circle, the more like liberal or radical, side of things, is I feel like we have no room for anyone that isn't like us. And I just think like foundationally that feels wrong.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
I absolutely do. I do know what you mean.
So I don't know. I'm finding myself often, kind of floating in these spaces and commenting when I, not like literally like, but having discourse about these things. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I can't even sit here and pretend like I know the answer, but I do know that I just feel like I've seen that it's better if we have discourse, if we actually talk, empathy, I guess.
It's empathy,
right?
It's empathy, it's compassion, it's communication,
right?
Like that's it.
I mean, you got to think of it, right? I literally know people from where I'm from that have done wild things, like deplorable things. And now they're better. That's all I can say, right?
Right.
I know that I've done things that I would never do now, said things that I would never say now, because I learned and I felt, and here I am. And I think it's kind of wild how we completely sort of just stop any opportunity for evolution or education.
Right.
I don't know. It's interesting.
What do you hope your sons learn from you?
To be respectable and respectful.
Yes.
That's it. I think that's the crux of everything, right? Just be a respectable person and respect others. And you'll find everything else will proliferate from that. You know what I mean?
Chills. I believe that is the foundation.
100%.
As a human being, as
That's
a fellow Homo sapien.
That's it.
When I walk down the street, I'm in an elevator, I make eye contact with someone and smile because we're both humans on this earth.
Right.
It comes down to that for me.
Wow.
I always make, good morning, how are you? In the elevator.
Yeah.
I'm not in my phone.
Right.
I'm actually not. I'm like, we are human beings doing our best on this earth. And Brian laughs at me because sometimes I say it to people and they don't say it back to me or they're not listening or whatever. And then he's like, diss, you know? I like all the time he laughs at me because I'm like, good morning.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that moment, that human connection is important.
Absolutely. But that's it, right? I think that's where we live now is we're so easily able to disconnect.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's so simple.
Yes. I make it my mission to connect.
Yes. It's a crazy time. It's a crazy time to be a human, I think, you know?
It is.
We have these things that are finding their way to emulate us and imitate us, AI and robots and
it's like Dark Mirror, Twilight Zone.
It's crazy.
It is. So we have to do our best to sort of stay grounded and connect human to human as much as we can.
Absolutely. I love that you do that and say that. And I notice that too. Every time I'm with you, you're like so engaged.
Oh,
it's so amazing.
I was raised that way. My parents I'm very blessed that I was raised that way. And that's how I raised our boys. So.
That's huge. I'm Gin, same way. And actually we like can't be on our phones around the kids because it makes it okay, right?
Right.
Especially in this world. We had a young child who's lovely. We just moved over to Venice and we met one of our neighbors and he was lovely little kid. And he goes to my son Pascal, we can do it on iPads. And Pascal's like, my mom has one, but I don't have an iPad.
Right.
And he was like, oh, you can use mine. And my son was like, that's all right. You know, like
good parenting over there. Good for you.
He just doesn't know why, right?
Yeah.
I feel like these things are kind of like imparted upon you through life. It's like you need this because of this. Right. I didn't have a cell phone, dude. I was the last one of my friend group to have a cell phone. I had a pager forever.
I love it. I love it.
In like the 2000s, like you know, and I had a pager, and I can admit that I became someone different when I got a cell phone.
Yeah. You know? We all just need to play outside. Adults, kids, everyone. We should all just be outside.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
And breathe that fresh air.
Absolutely.
All right, let's do deep cuts really quickly.
Yeah.
What was your first concert?
My dad's.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, my dad's just doing like a lowrider event hosted by Art LeBeau, rest in peace. Just my dad's.
Oh, that's so great. What is a song you wish you wrote?
Glycerine.
Back to Gavin.
Yeah,
love that.
Yeah.
What is your favorite movie?
Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, we've never discussed this
That's
before.
crazy. Yeah,
it's my favorite.
Oh, it's my favorite. It's my absolute.
I quote it daily. Any of them.
I've got it tattooed on me. We should go to it's on Broadway.
Oh, 100%
we
going.
Go.
I went to the Hollywood Bowl one.
Yes,
everyone's dressed like Marty McFly in different iterations.
So good.
Okay, Back to the Future 2 is like my favorite.
Yeah, it's so good.
Amazing.
That's
Another
the
connection.
Best one. But
it is the best one.
2 is the best one. Yeah.
2 is the best one.
It is.
Connection. What is your favorite meal or cuisine?
To me, this is all my vegan friends are going to be so upset because I am myself vegan, eat vegan, vegetarian. I've fried chicken. It's my favorite. It is my favorite. It is. It just, I don't know. I think it's like partially just comforting because it reminds me of a time in my life. But also, I don't eat it now, but that's like my favorite.
If you were not a musician, what would you be?
A teacher.
Oh.
Yeah.
You would be an incredible teacher.
Thank
you would be an incredible teacher.
Thank you.
Wow.
You. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could still. And you do teach in a way.
Thank you.
You do.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'd love to.
I can see you doing that. What is something fans might be surprised to learn about you?
Shoot, I don't really know because I try to be so open about everything. You know what? Yeah, to your point about like with the connection with Gin and you being like, that makes sense. We had a really, really difficult time last year. As I was having a difficult time in my career and just my life, we had a really, really difficult time in our marriage and it was fucking wild. So, I mean, that's just me being like more recently vulnerable, I guess. But yeah, I think people would be because I think that you only, I would, of course, I'm not going to post that we're arguing.
Right.
I'm posting us at shows together or with our kids or, whatever. So no, I mean, as awesome and amazing and incredible as our relationship is, it was very tumultuous last year. Yeah.
No, things get tried.
Absolutely.
Because we get tried.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, if you could meet any celebrity, dead or alive, who would it be?
Probably James Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Probably James Brown. Just, for obvious reasons, but early James Brown, when he was like first on the come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would be your dream collaboration?
Dead or alive? Or just alive?
Maybe alive.
Alive?
Yeah.
Probably right now would probably be probably Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Just because I think that he's just more than a rapper.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
He is in a league of his own.
He is.
He's an artist.
He's an artist.
He's an artist. I think he transcends genre.
That's it.
He's an artist.
That's it. And because he's able to be an artist, a popular artist, a popular artiste.
Yes, he's an artiste.
That's difficult. It's difficult to say things that are so deep and have the whole world sing it back to you.
He is one of a kind.
Yes.
That's, you two together would be incredible. Let's put it out there.
Yeah, that'd be so sick.
That would be amazing.
That'd be so sick.
Are there words you live by?
That's such a good, I've never thought about that. Just do good, be good, really. No, I don't have any, I don't have a quote.
Well, I feel like be respectable and be respectful.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's probably
That's it.
That's
yeah.
it. That's
I
really
think that's the one.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going with that.
Yeah, that one works.
What do you hope to achieve next?
I think what I'm trying to do is never ending.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just going to be a continual, because the one quote that I subscribe to and that I speak to people is the real idea of community is planting trees that you'll never sit under.
Oh.
Right?
Wow. Yes.
And so I just want to keep planting more trees, and maybe I could plant bigger ones or a few more than last year. I just want to be better. I just want to be better, not for me, well, yes, for me, but also mostly for others. But it really starts with my kids, huh? They are the prime example and sort of they're my gauge on what I'm doing. Is it good? Is it good enough? Because if it's good enough for them, then it should be good enough for the world.
Yeah. Oh my God, Jason. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I could
Allie.
sit with you for hours. You are a beautiful soul.
It goes both ways.
I am
Allie.
so grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you. For real. And also, let me just say this to the camera. Sincerely, when you've made me feel so seen, not just right now, but this entire time. And I don't actually know, I'm getting that kind of emotion. I actually don't know if I'd be able to continue doing what I do with the critique, the criticisms, the ups and downs without you.
Oh,
wow. Sincerely, your advocacy. I mean it. And I think that there's many people out there that feel the same way because you're the realest of the real when it comes to advocating for us artists. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I'm actually crying. Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
There I go again, tearing up on my show. It happens. That's what happens here. I think it is quite apparent how much I cherish these heartfelt conversations. And Jason is someone near to my heart. Plus, his music invigorates me and ignites me in a very unique way. It's like an electric shock in the best possible way. It is now time for my sound advice, new music you need to know on the Allison Hagendorf Show playlist. First up is Manchester band Hot Milk, whose self-produced debut album, A Call to the Void, is out today. They explained, we wrote songs with the intention of people going off, making you feel good, opening the pit up, letting go, crying, getting on your mate's shoulders. It's church for us. I love the energy and raw emotion in these songs. Really happy for them. Check out Breathing Underwater. Next up is the latest from the Telescreens, who are from my hometown of New York, represent. I first found out about these guys from Juliette Lewis, who is in one of their music videos, and I love Juliette Lewis, so anything she's a part of, I tune in. And I gravitated to their music instantly. They said that Nirvana's Nevermind was the muse for this EP, which involved practicing until the brink of insanity and recording live with everyone in the room together. Their mission is to spread rock and roll, and their EP Stairwide is out today. Check out Times Like These. Next up is Trey and the Sunbillies. Originally from Virginia, now based in Long Beach, Trey says he makes songs about Mondays and Tuesdays so you could dance to him on Friday. I love this. He puts on a killer live show and definitely channels his inner Iggy Pop when performing. He says he wants to leave you feeling like you experienced something. Check out Everything is Gray out today. That's my sound advice this week. Search for the Allison Hagendorf Show playlist wherever you listen to music. Thank you so much, as always, for being part of the Allison Hagendorf Show. New episodes drop every Friday, so make sure you follow and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. You can find the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can also watch the show on YouTube. I would love to hear from you, so please like, comment, rate, review, whatever you are feeling, and reach out to me on socials at Allie Hagendorf. I would love to connect with you. Let me know who I should interview next and who I should feature on my sound advice. Thanks again. I'll see you next week. And remember, you're a rock star.